All right. Thank you so much. I will go ahead and give the secretary the nod to start her recording. And welcome to the Senate Committee on Growth and Infrastructure. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Senator Brooks? Senator Hammond?
Here.
Senator Pickard?
Here.
Senator Spearman? Chair Harris?
Here. We have 3 members present. Please mark Vice Chair Brooks and Senator Spearman present as they arrive. And as always, I will endeavor to give you an audio confirmation of that as well. So just a couple of reminders. Please be courteous and respectful with others, even if you disagree with another person's position. For those participating on Zoom, mute your microphone when you're not speaking. For all of those joining us virtually and over the phone, the legislative building is closed, but there are 4 options for public engagement. 1, on the legislator's website, you can register on Nellis, be sent a phone number in order to testify on a bill or public comment. You can also submit written testimony to the committee's email or fax. Both of those are listed on the agenda. On Nellis, you can also open the application for sharing your views on bills. It's under legislation or committee meetings. And then lastly, you can just view our meetings online via Nellis or the legislature's YouTube channel. If you need some assistance signing up for committee agendas or participation, please feel free to contact the committee manager at the email or phone number also listed on the agenda. Okay, so first on the agenda today is Senate Bill 170, which makes various changes relating to off-highway vehicles. It is my pleasure to welcome back to the legislature Senator David Parks, who is here to present. Welcome, Senator.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Please feel free to go ahead and start when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair Harris and committee members. For the record, I'm David Parks. I served as chair of the Legislative Committee on Public Lands during the last interim. Senate Bill 170 was proposed as a BDR by the Public Lands Committee and approved during a work session at its final meeting on September 22nd, 2020. Last interim, just prior to the pandemic shutdown, the Public Lands Committee traveled to Caliente, Nevada. At that meeting, the State Department of Conservation and Natural Resources provided an overview and an update of the Nevada Off-Highway Vehicle Program. 4 of the key takeaways from that presentation included the limitations with the current registration and titling system, where the process can only be completed through the mail or through an off-highway vehicle dealer. Rules for off-highway vehicle operations are unclear on roads, especially in rural communities and on certain public lands. Additionally, no registration use decal is required for out-of-state off-highway vehicles, and safety risks are evident due to improper operation of off-highway vehicles by persons under 16 years of age. Following the meeting, and in response to a solicitation for recommendations, the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources submitted 3 recommendations that were combined into one bill, which became Senate Bill 170. As recommended by the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, the committee voted to draft a bill to 1, replace the current off-highway vehicle registration system with an annual use decal. 2, require out-of-state off-highway vehicle users and vehicles registered for street use and modified for off-road riding to acquire an annual use decal. And 3, require all off-highway vehicle users under 16 years of age to wear a helmet on all types of off-highway vehicles. To provide further testimony on the bill, we have Nikhil Markade, Program Manager for the Nevada Off-Highway Vehicle Program, and Kathy Erskine, Senior Policy Advisor for the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. They can walk you through the bill, and I believe they also have an amendment that they would like to propose today. In closing, thank you for allowing me the privilege of presenting Senate Bill 170. I strongly urge your support for this needed legislation. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Parks. It's our pleasure to have you here. Mr. Narcade, if you'd like to go ahead and start.
Good afternoon, Chair Harris, members of the Senate Committee on Growth and Infrastructure. For the record, I am Nikhil Markade, Program Manager for the Nevada Off-Highway Vehicles Program within the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. Thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony in support of Senate Bill 170 and to discuss a proposed amendment. In short, SB 170 aims to simplify and replace the current off-highway vehicles OHV registration process with an annual use OHV decal. Requires all OHV users recreating on public land, regardless of residency, to obtain a Nevada OHV decal. And it increases safety measures by requiring children under 16 to wear a helmet when recreating. The overall intent of the bill was developed with feedback from the OHV community, our land managers, and non-governmental organizations. Existing law requires that recreational off-highway vehicles be registered with the Department of Motor Vehicles, the DMV. However, the registration process in Nevada is cumbersome and inefficient, preventing many OHV users from registering their OHVs. For example, this application is unique based on the OHV occupancy and their purchase location. It also requires a completed VIN inspection, more suitable for street legal vehicles. All this information must be communicated exclusively by the U.S. mail, and in turn, it's not readily accessible by law enforcement personnel in the field. These requirements result in low registration compliance, limited enforcement, and meager proceeds used to support grant projects that improve OHV recreation across the state, and they mitigate user impacts on Nevada's public lands. SB 170 proposes to replace the current registration process administered by the DMV with an OHV decal administered by the Nevada Off-Highway Vehicles Program. The bill eliminates the current registration process, VIN inspections, and other cumbersome requirements few OHV users comply with. In addition, SB 170 extends OHV requirements to out-of-state OHV users recreating within Nevada. A streamlined and easy-to-obtain OHV decal will increase grant funding generated by decal sales and improve compliance with OHV laws in Nevada. With that brief overview, let me draw attention to some of the technical details proposed in SB 170. Section 3, subsections 1 through 3 set forth OHV decal requirements when operating an OHV on public land and their valid exceptions. Sections 3, subsection 4, retains existing decal size, visibility, and display requirements. This section simply transfers it out of the DMV section NRS 490.083 to a new section of the NRS. Given concerns expressed by some groups, the characteristics of the new OHV decal will not change from the current registration sticker administered by the DMV. Section 3, subsection 5, allows Nevada Off-Highway Vehicles Program to sell OHV decals through third-party vendors. By utilizing third-party vendors, OHV users will have multiple options for purchasing their OHV decals before recreating on public lands in Nevada. Additionally, vendor conditions include fee limits for vendor services, a monthly fund transfer to the account of off-highway vehicles via the state treasurer will ensure transparency and accountability for revenues generated from the new decal. Section 3, subsection 6, retains exceptions to the decal that currently exist in the law. Section 4 requires children under 16 years of age to wear a helmet when operating or riding an OHV. Subsection 2 clarifies that violation of Section 4 is not considered traffic violation, it will not appear on the driver's record, and does not constitute child endangerment. Sections 5, 6, and 7 are conforming changes that replace the term registered owner with titled owner when referring to the sale, purchase, and consignment of OHVs. Section 10 removes the Department of Motor Vehicles as a non-voting member of the Nevada Commission on Off-Highway Vehicles. Sections 11 and 12 expand the responsibilities of the Off-Highway Vehicles Commission to include the administration of the Nevada OHV decal. Sections 13 and 14 include conforming changes proposed under Section 3 above. It is important to note that these sections retain OHV titling and tracking ownership responsibilities within the DMV. Sections 15, 16, 17, and 18 are conforming changes to the current registration process. Section 19 clarifies that owners of large ATVs must carry a proof of insurance and display a valid OHV decal when operating on general or minor county roads. Sections 20 through 24 make conforming changes to NRS 490, aligning it with the new OHV decal process and helmet requirements for riders under 16. Lastly, Section 27 provides this bill becomes effective upon passage and approval for the purposes of adopting regulations and performing preparatory administrative tasks. For all other purposes, this bill becomes effective July 1st, 2022. Chair, with your permission, I would like to turn our attention to a proposed amendment that better captures the goal of SB 170.
Yes, please. Thank you.
The Off-Highway Vehicles Program is proposing an amendment to clarify several sections within the bill. The first amendment in Section 3, subsection 1, clarifies that all OHVs, off-highway vehicles operating on public lands in Nevada, must display the OHV decal. The OHV operator, however, does not need to be the person who purchases the decal. Section 3, subsection 3 of the proposed amendment clarifies that the OHV decal should be valid for 1 year from the date of purchase, as opposed to 1 calendar year. This provision will improve decal compliance year-round and thus benefiting seasonal OHV riders such as snowmobilers. Under Section 3, subsection 6, Part G, the proposed amendment closes a large loophole for OHVs operating or stored on private land. Because the majority of OHVs are stored on private land, the proposed language clarifies that only OHVs that are solely stored and operated on private land are exempt from the requirements to obtain an OHV decal. Finally, after consultation with the Nevada Department of Motor Vehicles, we are proposing to replace all references to registration decal with off-highway vehicle decal. The term registration refers to documents including vehicle identification numbers and owner information. This change helps clarify for the public that OHV users would no longer be required to obtain an annual registration from the Department of Motor Vehicles, but instead would be required to display an off-highway vehicle decal from the Off-Highway Vehicles Program. The OHV program is aware of 2 additional proposed amendments and are generally supportive of them from the police departments in Clark County, as well as the National Conservation League. That concludes my testimony. Thank you for your consideration of SB 170. I am happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Mr. Narcade. We appreciate you being here. It looks like we have a question from Senator Pickard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Senator Parks, good to see you again. I'm afraid, though, this question is going to be for, or questions are going to be for Mr. Narcade, because I think they're basically technical. First, with respect to the program itself and the decal that's issued, it looks like we're doing this, that it follows the the applicant, kind of like a fishing license does. And so we're not, we're getting a decal. The person's getting the decal. Is that correct?
Thank you, Senator. Nikhil Narkade, for the record, yes, that is correct. The person will be issued the decal.
All right. But yet we're somehow supposed to put this decal on the off-highway vehicle. Is that right?
Nikhil Narkade, for the record, yes, that is correct.
Okay. And will that be done on an alternate license plate, or will it be like a bicycle where you have to put it on the handlebar or someplace visible? How would that work?
Nikhil Narkade, for the record, the latter is correct. The location of the decal will be specified by the Nevada Commission on Off-Highway Vehicles, the location and display of that decal.
All right. And then how then does this affect rentals or transfers? How do people deal? Because now we're going to treat this like a fishing pole. How did we put that decal on there, but now you're going to let somebody else, you're going to rent it to someone else, or you're going to, give it to someone else, whether, temporary or permanently. I don't know that makes a difference. How does that work?
Thank you for the question, Senator. Nikhil Narkade, for the record. So the way that this will proceed is similar to the current registration decal. If there is a valid OHV decal on the OHV at the time of sale, then the new recipient of that OHV will be granted use of that OHV on public lands until that decal expires. Once that decal expires, it is up to the new owner to go out and purchase a OHV decal and have it displayed on their new machine. Regarding rentals, it is up to the rental company to purchase OHV decals for their fleet and have them displayed on those machines. The goal here is such that all OHVs, all off-highway vehicles, will display this unique OHV decal and not necessarily tie it back to who that OHV owner is. The intent here is that the person that purchases that sticker, the OHV decal, will place it on their OHV or any OHVs that they own.
Right. And does this include all types of OHVs, including dirt bikes and side-by-sides and four-wheelers and three-wheelers and, all types of OHVs?
Thank you for the question, Senator. Nikhil Narkade, for the record. Yes, sir, it does. It does include, the decal will be required for all types of OHVs. There will only be one type of OHV decal. Currently, there's two types of OHV decals based on the type of OHV that you have, trying to consolidate that into one type of decal.
All right. And then one final question, and thank you for your indulgence, Madam Chair. You mentioned insurance. Typically, vehicle insurance is offered on the vehicles. I don't know that there's a class of insurance that would go with a potential rider and not the vehicle. Is there insurance even available to people outside of an umbrella liability policy? Has the insurance company signed off on, or insurance industry signed off on this, that they'll actually offer policies to people who maybe have an OHV decal but don't even own an OHV? Because we've disconnected those two requirements. How does someone get insurance if that's a requirement? So
an individual can insure their OHV as well as riding their OHV. Sorry, Nikhil Narkade, for the record, an individual can insure their OHV even without a OHV decal. These two are now separated in the sense that to operate your OHV on major or minor county roads in Nevada, you're required to have two things. Number one is your off-highway vehicle decal from the OHV program. Number two is your liability insurance for your machine that's completed through the insurance company. presence of your OHV registration or OHV decal does not impede or benefit your OHV insurance.
So what I'm hearing you say is that the vehicle will be insured, not necessarily the person that owns the decal. Is that correct?
For the record, Nikhil Markade, that is correct.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I would like the secretary to just note we have both Vice Chair Brooks and Senator Spearman with us. They joined about 10 to 15 minutes ago. Mr. Narcade, I have a question. You mentioned two friendly amendments, but the committee doesn't have those. Are these amendments that have been submitted or will be submitted?
Thank you for the question, Chair Harris. Nikhil Narkade, for the record, these are amendments that are conceptual at this moment, and they're proposed to be submitted.
Okay, thank you. We will be on the lookout for that. Are there any additional questions? Okay, seeing none, let's go ahead and open it up for testimony in support.
Thank you, Chair. Callers, if you'd like to testify in support of the bill, please press *9 now to enter your place in the queue. Will the caller with the last three digits of 739 please slowly state and spell your name for the record? You may begin now. I'm sorry, will the caller with the last three digits of 732, rather, please slowly state and spell your name for the record?
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Kyle Davis. That's Kyledavis, and I am here today on behalf of the Nevada Conservation League. Our organization participated in working groups on this issue during the 2007 and 2009 legislative sessions. We want to thank the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources for working with us and answering our questions on this bill. Our interest in off-highway vehicle policy stems from the impacts from irresponsible OHV use, which can cause significant damage to wildlife habitat in natural areas. We feel that the key components of an OHV management system maintains the highly visible unique decal and ensures that some revenue from the program is dedicated to enforcement and restoration of areas damaged by past irresponsible use. We are in support of the bill before the committee today, as well as the amendments that were discussed by the department, as we feel it maintains those key components and could lead to greater compliance. We would also support an amendment to add a representative from the Nevada Department of Wildlife as an ex officio member of the OHV Commission. And Madam Chair, I apologize that we have not had a chance to write up this amendment and get it into you. It's just come together today, but I will certainly do that and get that to you as soon as possible. Thank you for your time and consideration.
All right, well, the next caller with the last three digits of 611, please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You may begin now.
Good afternoon, Chair Harris and members of the committee. This is John Piro, Johnpiro, from the Clark County Public Defender's Office. We are testifying in support. One of the conceptual amendments discussed was proposed by us, and that was to remove the misdemeanor and turn it into a fine. Ms. Birchie will have another section of the bill that she will talk about when she testifies, but we're grateful for the bill sponsors talking us through that. And Senator Parks, it was good to see your face, if only on the YouTube or Zoom. Thank you. That concludes my testimony.
All right, well, the caller with the last three digits of 946, please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You may begin now.
Hello, my name is Philip Fell, Philip. I am one of the OHV commissioners for the state of Nevada, and I would like to testify in support of this bill. Just to give a short, brief personal experience with the OHV registration process, I've been in a position to where I've had to ride my OHV illegally because of the convoluted process dealing with the Nikhil, or the paperwork that Nikhil mentioned earlier, mailing it to the DMV, having to make adjustments, mailing it back, having to make more adjustments, and the back and forth process caused me to make a choice of either not participate in my preferred form of recreation or do it illegally and face potential fines. So I support this recommendation to make it easier for the citizens of Nevada to recreate legally and for the funds to be able to go to trail projects and restoration projects that were mentioned by the Nevada Conservation League. So I think it's a great bill for all. Thank you for your time.
All right. Well, the next caller with the last three digits of 782, please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You may begin now.
This is Dr. Jeremy Anderson. That's Jeremy, last name Anderson. I thank the Chair Harris and the Senate Committee on Growth and Infrastructure for the opportunity to present testimony in support of Senate Bill 170. By introduction, I am a surgeon and clinical fellow in trauma and acute care surgery at UNLV School of Medicine, as well as University Medical Center in Las Vegas. The particular point of interest in this bill that we support is the Section 4 on the use of helmets for children and passengers and riders under the age of 16 years old. I did a brief data collection in preparation for this, and I just wanted to share some of our information that we have gathered from both UMC, St. Rose, Sunrise, and renowned trauma centers in the state of Nevada that treat patients from Nevada as well as neighboring states in California, Utah, and Arizona. Through the years 2012 to 2017, 100 children presented that were under age 16 years old with off-highway vehicle injuries. The average age was 11 and a half years, the median age of 13. And 45% of those children presenting were unhelmeted at the time of arrival and treatment at our trauma centers. As such, they did experience slightly higher grades of injury severity scores, as well as severe head injuries. Approximately 22% of unhelmeted children had severe injuries, whereas only 12.7% of children had severe injuries that were helmeted. Therefore, there is a difference in the severity of injuries that we see at our trauma centers. Additionally, we do see significantly higher rates of hospital charges in unhelmeted children, equivalent about $71,400, whereas helmeted children incur costs of $55,253. Additionally, the length of hospital stay is about half in the helmeted children as opposed to unhelmeted children. Unhelmeted children on average are in the hospital for 4 days, whereas helmeted children are treated for 2 days prior to release. We will be able to submit a more detailed and full statistical analysis of these injuries in helmeted and unhelmeted children prior to the next committee meeting, and we would be able to submit this to the chair in advance. However, this is data we are collecting today, so I apologize for not providing some of this information beforehand. But again, as representing myself and other trauma surgeons here at University Medical Center in Las Vegas, we do support the Senate Bill 170. Thank you.
Callers, if you're just now joining us, we are on support for Senate Bill 170. If you'd like to give testimony in support for the bill, please press *9 now. Will the next caller with the last three digits of 318, please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You may begin now.
Good afternoon, Chair Harris and members of the committee. This is Kendra Birchie, Kendra Bertschy with the Washoe County Public Defender's Office. First, I want to thank the sponsors for speaking with myself and Mr. Pirro today to address some of our concerns. It is our understanding that they have agreed, and we will be providing a friendly amendment for the committee for their consideration. Mr. Pirro spoke regarding one of our amendments, and the second is specifically in Section 4, subsection 2. In this section, it indicates that it is not ground for taking a child into custody pursuant to NRS 62C, which is the delinquency provisions, as well as it doesn't constitute abuse or neglect or endangerment pursuant to NRS 200.508, which is the criminal abuse and neglect statutes. We are requesting for this to also include the dependency provisions set forth in NRS 432B to indicate that this is not a ground for moving a child and to place a child into foster care as a violation of this subsection. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate again the sponsor speaking with us about this bill.
All right. Well, the next caller with the last three digits of 249. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You may begin now.
Karen Boger, KarenBoeger. Good afternoon, Chair Harris and commissioners. Not commissioners, excuse me, committee members. I've got the OHV Commission on my brain. Anyway, I sent you a long letter today from our Nevada chapter of Backcountry Hunters and Anglers explaining why we support this bill put forth, and primarily because of the ease now of, I have to think of another word other than registration because it isn't that, of acquiring a decal versus the previous current system of registering through DMV. So many of our members complained about what an unwieldy, long, complicated process that was. So finally, and being as one of the members of the original stakeholder group to put forward the original legislation creating the OHV Commission and Registration Program, it is something that we've always wanted. And now I will go no further other than to double down on our support, having just heard Nevada Conservation League in the form of Mr. Davis say that they are putting forth an amendment to have NDOW be one of the ex officio members. This, too, has been something we have been advocating for almost a decade now. So really, really hope that will go forward. And I think it would be of a great benefit to us all to have them there to give their professional advice. Thank you so much.
All right. If there are any more callers wishing to give support for Senate Bill 170, please press star 9 now to enter the queue. Chair Harris, at this time, there are no more callers wishing to give support for Senate Bill 170.
Okay, thank you. Let's go ahead and move to any testimony in opposition.
Absolutely. Callers, if you'd like to give testimony in opposition to Senate Bill 170, please press star 9 now to enter the queue. Once again, that is star 9 to enter the queue for opposition to Senate Bill 170. Chair, at this time, it appears no callers wish to give testimony in opposition to the bill.
Okay, thank you. We'll open it up for those who'd like to testify in the neutral position.
Thank you, Chair. Callers, if you'd like to give testimony in a neutral position for Senate Bill 170, please press star 9 now to enter the queue. Once again, star 9 now to enter the queue for a neutral testimony on Senate Bill 170. Chair, at this time, it appears no callers wish to give testimony in a neutral position either.
All right, thank you. We will go ahead and close out the testimony portion of the hearing. Oh, Senator Brooks, yes.
If you are through with testimony, I just had a question that the testimony inspired, if it's okay to go ahead and ask.
Please.
Oh, I apologize. As soon as the meeting started, I got kicked off for a few minutes until IT got me back on. I appreciate their help. But so maybe I missed this. The bill as discussed and that was being testimony was based on, is that based on the amendment offered by the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources? Was that the discussing the bill as introduced?
That was based upon the proposed amendment by DCNR.
Okay.
And you probably heard in testimony that it looks like 2 friendly amendments that will be coming.
So those friendly amendments will be coming from NCL and from Clark County Public Defenders and Washoe County Public Defenders. Is that what I'm seeing?
That's correct. That is my understanding.
That is it. That's what I needed to understand. I appreciate that.
Great. While we have Mr. Narcade still with us, are there any additional questions?
Nikhil Marcade, for the record, I just wanted to thank you, Chair Harris, for your time. Members of the Senate Committee on Growth and Infrastructure, thank you for your time and hearing my testimony today.
Thank you for being with us. Just for the record, I'd like to note we have the proposed amendment on Nellis, as well as 6 letters of support, 1 letter of opposition on the website as well for members to review. And with that, we will go ahead and close the hearing on SB 170 and open up the hearing on SB 191. Welcome, Senator Settlemyre. Go ahead and begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair Harris, and also to the Committee on Growth and Infrastructure. Thank you for having the opportunity to hear Senate Bill 191 today, dealing with electric vehicles. Just so you can check your time frame, this is not April's Fool's Day, but you actually have the Senate Minority Leader in front of you with a 2/3 bill seeking to increase taxes. Just for the record, just want to put that out there right away. I brought this bill last session. The discussion was that another bill was going to come out last session, and instead it just turned into a study. So I'm bringing this back forth for discussion purposes. I understand there are different proposals coming forward, and I also have another proposal coming forward to look at the concept with electric vehicles to ensure that they are actually contributing some money, some funds to the highway fund, since as it stands now, I also appreciate since last session, one of the members of this committee has gone out and purchased an electric car. So I'll call out that senator almost by name and give him a bad time. I believe that that individual and myself are the only individuals that currently do have electric vehicles inside the legislative process. With that being said, it is my opinion that this bill is a more logical way to look at generating resources, because this one would actually be based upon paying at the pump, just as individuals pay currently. When you buy gasoline, you pay at the pump and that money goes towards the highway fund. This bill seeks to do the same thing by stating there should be a 10% charge only if you are also being charged for that power. So if you're at your home and you're not paying at a pump at a commercial thing, you would not have to pay for this. And if someone is giving the power away, then again, you would not have to pay. This is only for the situations where a person is being charged commercially to fill their vehicle per se, their electric vehicle, with power. There's been some discussion amongst the local entities that they would like to potentially put forward I'd consider a friendly amendment, that the money wouldn't always go 100% to the highway fund, but would also go towards local governments, as they are also finding out. Now, that'd be up to this committee to figure out the proper amendment as to what that amount would be that would go to the local revenue source. And I do understand there will be people who will object, and I've had emails from those. And I look forward to trying to work with them on a potential solution. Some of them just outright are saying that at this point in time, they don't think that EV should be, taxed in any way, shape, or form, that we should be encouraging them. Personally, we bought an EV based on the fact that it was economical. We were able to get a used one for $8,000, and the fact of not having to contribute at all bothered me. And so I passed a bill last time, which is actually an electric license plate bill, and that money actually goes to the highway fund, which currently is the only money that this body has actually dedicated from EVs to actually go to the highway fund. So again, I think that this is a reasonable proposal, but I stand eagerly to try to answer any questions from any of the members, or to listen to the individuals who will be calling in with different concepts and ideas. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Senator. I will start. I have a question about the seller of the electricity. Is it intended that it be the owner of the charge station or the utility itself?
The individual that would be Senator Settlemeyer, again, for the record, I apologize. I forget sometimes in the virtual world we need to do that. The concept was that anyone who is charging you, so I believe there's different applications out there from ChargePoint, not trying to pick on them, but individuals who charge you when you charge your car would tack on a 10% on top of that and submit it to the state highway fund is where the funds would go.
Okay, thank you. Senator Pickard.
Thank you, Chair Harris. Just a couple of quick questions. We addressed the issue of who's charging. I'm assuming that most people, if they're charging at home, they're not going to have to pay anything. But when we come to, particularly since this mentions plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, which are EVs for most of the time they're driving, they're already paying the gas tax because they have to put gasoline in their car. Is there going to be, is there some consideration of credit, or is it just assumed that because the mileage that they're getting on that gas is so great, that they should be paying the 10% charge on the electricity as well?
Thank you, Senator Pickard. This is Senator Settlemeyer for the record. What this discussion is about is EVs that are 100% electric vehicles. If a vehicle is a hybrid, then the portion that they pay to charge to put electricity into their car, yes, would have the 10%. Anything on their fuel would be taxed at that rate at the pump if they're using gasoline. But again, this bill doesn't address the situations that are coming. I know that Nicola is doing what's called a Badger truck, which is going to be a hybrid, and currently hydrogen is not taxed. This is only looking at electric charging stations at this point in time. So again, if they are charging them, however, I think the bill could be easily modified if there is an alternate fuel source that would be utilized, such as hydrogen, if they're going to charge for the hydrogen in the car, or what other methodologies may come out in the future. I don't think we've seen the end of where these technologies are going. Yes, most of them are focusing on going electric, or the reality is they could have different forms that are going to be used, whether it be hydrogen. There are some that are compressed natural gas. Haven't seen any propane ones, but I've seen CNG, and I've heard of hydrogen. Maybe I'll throw a lifeline out there. I know Senator Brooks has researched this topic a little bit as well, and he may have known of other fuel sources that are out there. But the bill is aimed only at this point in time at the concept of the utilization of electricity. And if a person is charging someone to charge with electricity a car up, then they should tack on 10%. That would again go to a split, which is an amendment that is coming that I consider friendly, the state highway fund and the counties to allow them to try to take care of their infrastructures as things change and evolve. Because as we know, I believe it is, again, don't mean to call them out, but I think General Motors is saying by 2035 they will sell no cars that use fossil fuels. They will all be electric or a hybrid.
Sure. All right. Thank you. Thank you for your response. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Vice Chair Brooks.
Thank you, Chair Harris. And, I was on an interim study that was created last session where we looked at this in great detail. And our highway fund is going down and rapidly, mainly as a result of as gasoline engines get more efficient. And so I have two questions. The first is, does this do anything to address the significant depletion of our highway fund from efficient gasoline engines?
Of course, Senator Brooks, this one does not do that, and that does occur. Simply put, if you have a vehicle that's getting 100 miles a gallon, if you really want the highway funds to work better, we should all go back to vehicles such as some of my trucks on the ranch that unfortunately get about 10 miles to the gallon. That would create a lot more funds for the system. However, what that potentially does, and the result of emissions, is a whole nother cost to society that needs to be weighed. So no, this does not do anything to address the efficiency standards of other vehicles. And I realize that the interim committee worked on bills dealing with that concept, looking at mileage. Just as you know, though, or some of my constituents don't really like the idea of telling Uncle Sam how many miles they tend to drive on a regular basis. And I look forward to seeing the proposals that come forward. Maybe you can garner some of the minority support to get that bill going forward, or maybe we can have a discussion between both parties of which would be the approved methodology to go forward, since the concept of taxation does require both parties talking.
No, I appreciate that, and this is definitely an issue that I'm glad that we're all thinking about, and this is obviously an attempt to address a small piece of that. My second question is, does this apply to the 5%? Is this in addition to the 5% that all electric users pay in taxes on the electricity that they're currently buying already?
Well, that went being Senator Settlemeyer for the record. Senator Brooks, again, this is only tacked on an extra 10% excise tax on top of the bill that someone pays. So as you, with your electric vehicle, if you chose to drive up here from Vegas with that vehicle and you stopped at that's again, and there are different charging ones out there, so I'll try not to single them out by name. But let's say you used one of those to charge your car and your bill was $10. Well, now it'd be $11 because 10% would be tacked on to go to the state/county highway fund to help alleviate those concerns. So in that respect, again, it's an excise tax on top of the bill that is being charged by the entity who you are paying. So does that mean potentially that it's on top of taxes that already exist? Potentially so. Just as when you go buy something at a restaurant, there's a potential that you're being taxed on something that had already been taxed. There's no difference to me.
Thank you. And Chair, may I have one last question?
Sure.
I just I didn't see a fiscal note associated with this and from DMV, and it does create a requirement for them to administer this. And I can't imagine with the small amount of charging stations that are currently out that 2% of 10% of that amount of money covers those administration costs. Did DMV not submit a fiscal note, do you know, as a result of that, or of that administrative cost, or did we just not get one back yet?
Were you able to hear the question, Senator Settlemeyer?
I'm sorry, I didn't know if he was addressing that to me or someone on the call, and I have no idea why come DMV. This Senator Settlemeyer would not necessarily submit a fiscal note. Maybe they're just looking at the chances of the majority party letting the minority party have a bill pass. I don't know.
And I'll note we have Mr. Sever on Mr. Sever on the call if he'd like to jump on and answer.
Sure, Chair. Sean Sever from the DMV. We did submit a fiscal note on the bill. There was no impact, but we need to get more details on how the situation works to figure out if there's going to be a cost to the DMV. So our initial fiscal note was no impact, but we need to take another look at it, I think, at this point. Oh, so.
Anything else, Vice Chair Brooks?
Thank you, Chair.
This is Senator Settlemeyer. Sean, you may want to go back on mute just so you don't accidentally say something on the record.
Sure, and if I may, Madam Chair, so we did submit a cannot be determined fiscal note. So that's where we're at this point, and we can take another look at it.
Okay, thank you. Senator Spearman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Settlemeyer, I just want to say thank you for mentioning hybrid, because I know that that's going to be the next fuel resource that's coming out. When hydrogen starts gaining traction, one of the things that will happen is that you dispense it like you do gasoline. So is there anything in your bill that would take into account hydrogen as a possible fuel source? And I'm thinking now about the fact that General Motors said they would not be making any more cars that use fossil fuels. General Motors was one of the car companies, automobile companies that had a vehicle down at the National Renewable Energy Lab, hydrogen and electric. Just curious.
Thank you, Senator Spearman. This is Senator Settlemeyer again for the record. In that respect, the bill could be easily modified if it was the committee's desire to indicate that at any time that someone is using an alternative fuel source that is not electricity, that you could, and they're being charged for it, you could tack on an excise tax of 10%. So the bill could easily try to deal with those situations. As you mentioned, there's discussion of some people that are using hydrogen. When I was in college back in the 90s, we had cars that were starting to play around with the idea of saltwater rather. So in that respect, who knows what the future holds? And there might be an opportunity as we look at whether it be this bill or another bill. Let's try to be far-reaching so we don't have to come back and do this again.
Are there any other questions before we move on to testimony? Okay, seeing none, VPS, please go ahead and open up the line for testimony in support of Senate Bill 191.
Thank you, Chair. Callers, if you'd like to testify in support of the bill, please press star 9 now to enter your place into the queue. All right, caller with the last 3 digits of 105. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You may begin now.
Madam Chair and Committee, I am Lynn Chapman, State Treasurer of the Independent American Party. And we support SB 191. We usually don't support taxes and fee increases. However, everyone uses the roads and highways. People walking, riding a bike, mopeds, motorcycles, cars, trucks, and RVs. But only diesel and gas vehicles are the ones that are targeted to pay the big bucks for our roads and highways. This bill makes sense, and I like hearing all the testimony about hydrogen coming on board and this and that. Down the road, that can be added, and I think that's the only fair way to everyone using any type of a vehicle, and I think this is the fair way to go. So please support SB 191. Thank you.
All right. Well, the next caller with the last three digits of 888, please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You may begin now.
Good afternoon, Senator Harris, members of the committee. Peter Kruger, P-E-T-E-R, Kruger, K-R-U-E-G-E-R. They representing Fueling Nevada. They're the men and women who provide energy and fuels of all kind, legal fuels of all kind, be it petroleum-based, be it electricity currently, hydrogen in the future, and we are absolutely in support of Senator Settlemyer's bill. With the current federal, state, local, and indexing in Washoe County tax rate at 90 cents a gallon, we need to have everyone who uses our highways participate in the construction, maintenance, and upkeep of these valuable commercial and personal routes of access to commerce, access to recreate, access to friends and family. So we are strongly in support of this bill and think that it's the correct way to go, especially given the governor's climate change initiative and an effort to begin to decarbonize our fuel. So, Senator Harris, thank you, and that is my testimony.
All right. Well, the next caller with the last three digits of 859, please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You may begin now.
Good afternoon. This is Janine Hansen, the state president of Nevada Families for Freedom. That's JANINEHANSEN. We support SB 191. We've had a lot of fuel tax increases in the last few years for gas and diesel vehicles. We think it's only fair that electric vehicles should also participate in paying for roads and highways. In addition, we think this is a very reasonable approach, and so we would like to support this bill. Thank you.
All right. Well, the caller with the last three digits of 116, please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You may begin now.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Alexis Motorex, A-L-E-X-I-S-M-O-T-A-R-E-X, with the Nevada Chapter Associated General Contractors, representing the commercial construction industry in northern Nevada. We are here in favor of SB 191 as introduced, although we do have concerns with the amendment mentioned to split the revenue with local governments. We would like to thank Senator Settlemeyer for bringing this forward. Although it's not a perfect solution, at least it's something. It's time we start having serious conversations about the health of the highway fund. AGC has long advocated for sustainable and equitable highway funding. As we see more and more electric vehicles on the road and more manufacturers promising to go all electric in the near future, it is past time these drivers begin contributing to the roads on which they drive. Thank you.
Will the caller with the last three digits of 742, please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You may begin now.
Good afternoon, Chair Harris and members of the committee. My name is Jimmy Lau with Ferrari Public Affairs, representing the Nevada Contractors Association. NCA supports the imposition of a surcharge on sales of electricity for electric vehicles to ensure continued sustainable funding for the highway fund in Nevada. Adequately funded construction on roads generates significant economic activity for our state and additionally provides enhanced safety for those who travel on our highways. As more Nevadans adopt the use of electric vehicles, it is important to find creative ways to ensure the roads they travel on remain adequately maintained, and we believe this bill is a step in that direction. Thank you, Senator Settlemeyer, for bringing forward this bill, and thank you, members of the committee, for your time and consideration.
And before you go, caller, can you quickly just spell your name for us?
Yes, my apologies. First name is Jimmy, J-I-M-M-Y. Last name is Lau, L-A-U.
Thank you so much.
All right, if there are any more callers wishing to testify, please press *9 now to enter your place into the queue. All right, Chair Harris, at this time, it appears no more callers are wishing to testify in support of the bill.
Okay, thank you. Let's go ahead and open it up for testimony in opposition.
Thank you, Chair. Callers, if you'd like to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 191, please press *9 now to enter your place into the queue. All right, will the caller with the last 3 digits of 837 please slowly state and spell your name for the record? You may begin now.
Hi, this is Catherine Stankin, Katherine, last name Stainken. Good afternoon, Chair Harris and committee members, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm the Policy Director with Plug in America, and we're a 501c3 that represents the EV consumer voice in Nevada, including the EV drivers in your districts and around the state. And we're here to speak in opposition to SB 191 today. First, this bill will only hurt the EV drivers who utilize public charging, which are generally those drivers who do not have access to home charging and live in multi-unit dwellings, which are usually the lower income drivers. Typically, only about 20% or less of charging is done at public chargers. And so if this bill is seeking to ensure that the roads in Nevada are adequately funded by EV drivers, this bill makes no sense in accomplishing that objective. Second, as was mentioned already, after the 2019 legislative session, the legislature passed SCR 3, which studied how the roads in Nevada could be funded as more EVs come onto the scene and as gas vehicles become more and more efficient over time. We recommend that this committee look to that process for any next steps in determining how Nevada should pay for the roads and the comments submitted in that process. Plug in America supported the SCR 3 process and is not opposed to having EV drivers pay for their fair share of using the roads in Nevada, as long as what the EV driver pays is less than or comparable to what a fuel-efficient vehicle on the road pays, due to the taxes EV drivers already pay and to the societal benefits EVs provide, like cleaner air. On behalf of the consumers in Nevada who wish to purchase these EVs, we urge you to oppose SB 191, and we'd be happy to work with the sponsor on an alternative solution.
All right, will the next caller with the last 3 digits of 632 please slowly state and spell your name for the record? You may begin now.
For the record, this is Paul Selberg, first name Paul, last name S as in Sam, EL, B as in boy, ERG. I'm calling today with the Nevada Conservation League, and we are in opposition to SB 191, as we were opposed to a similar bill last session. Our concern is that SB 191 is not a comprehensive solution to the issue of transportation funding and only deals with electric vehicles that charge at public charging stations. We do appreciate Senator Settlemyer bringing the issue forward, as we share the belief that our state needs to modernize our system of how we fund our transportation network. Our organization was an active participant in the SCR 3 working group over the interim, and we proposed a solution wherein the existing gas tax could be indexed to both inflation and total fuel consumption. And then the state would charge electric vehicles based upon their miles per gallon equivalent found on fueleconomy.gov. We feel that our proposed solution is technology neutral and can adapt as we move forward towards greater transportation electrification. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Will the caller with the last three digits of 450 please slowly state and spell your name for the record? You may begin now.
Thank you, and good afternoon, Chair Harris and members of the committee. My name is Angie Dykema, ANGIE-DYKEMA, and I'm calling in today representing the Southwest Energy Efficiency Project. I'd like to thank Senator Stendelmeyer for raising the issue of transportation systems funding again, because as we saw through the SCR3 working group process that met over the interim, it's a very complex issue that requires an understanding of the needs of the current transportation system as a whole and explores a broader equitable solution that reduces pollution. Instead of penalizing clean cars, Nevada should incentivize them to better enable the state to reach its climate goals of achieving zero emissions by 2050, as called for in the state climate strategy. For this reason, SWEEP opposes SB 191 and instead would like to point to one of the recommendations from the Interim Legislative Committee on Energy, already mentioned in previous testimony, and I believe submitted as BDR 458, which is to require the Department of Transportation to convene a working group to further study the needs of all transportation mode users, including social equity considerations and the overall sustainability of the highway fund. Thank you for the opportunity to comment.
All right, if there are any more callers that have just now joined us and wish to give testimony in opposition to Senate Bill 191, please press star 9 now to enter your place into the queue. All right, will the caller with the last three digits of 822 please slowly state and spell your name for the record? You may begin now.
Good afternoon, Chair Harris and members of the committee. My name is Matt Rubin, Mattrubin. I am an energy policy analyst with the Western Resource Advocate. WRA is a nonprofit organization dedicated to protecting the West's land, air, and water. We are opposed to Senate Bill 191. SB 191 seeks to implement a policy to be only one component of the overall highway funding fix and should not be the only aspect considered. In the 2019 session, when a similar bill was introduced, WRA supported studying the issue further as part of Senate Concurrent Resolution 3, which in part examined how electric vehicles could pay their fair share for road use. The Interim Committee on Energy did not come to a conclusion on this issue. However, WRA continues to support Natural Resource Defense Council's proposal to use the EV model's miles per gallon equivalent to compose a gas tax equivalent based on how many miles that vehicle had traveled a year. As acknowledged in the digest for SB 191, it is the policy to expand and accelerate the deployment of electric vehicles and supporting infrastructure throughout the state. WRA believes that the imposition of such a surcharge on the energy used for charging electric vehicles would hinder their deployment by making public charging uneconomic. Given the already existing high barriers to entry surrounding new charging stations, such as the cost for electricity distribution upgrades required for high-speed commercial charging stations, WRA opposes this bill, but remains committed to finding solutions that address the highway funding shortfall. Thank you.
Chair, at this time it appears no more callers are wishing to give testimony against Senate Bill 191.
Okay, let's go ahead and open it up then for testimony in the neutral position.
Thank you, Chair. Callers, if you'd like to give testimony in the neutral position for Senate Bill 191, please press star 9 now. Once again, to testify in a neutral position, please press star 9 now. Will the caller with the last three digits of 863 please slowly state and spell your name for the record? You may begin now.
Thank you, Chair Harris and members of the Senate Committee on Growth and Infrastructure. My name is Vincent Guthrow. That's spelled Vinson. Last name is Guthreau, Gutreau, and I serve as the Deputy Director of NACO, the Nevada Association of Counties, which represents all 17 of Nevada's counties. We are testifying in the neutral position on SB 191. While NACO is neutral on this bill, we would like to take this opportunity to remind the committee about the critical role that counties have in our state's transportation system. As the committee considers changes or additions to the funding streams for transportation, please be aware that local governments are responsible for 75% of Nevada's roads, and that under the current funding mechanisms, there is a dedicated portion of those revenues that are available to local governments to fund local roads and infrastructure. We thank the sponsor for including in his bill presentation a local option, and we agree that the bill should be amended to include a distribution for counties for any new road funding. And again, we appreciate the sponsor for putting this on the record during his presentation. Thank you, and thank you to the committee for your time and allowing me to testify on SB 191.
Will the caller with the last three digits of 964 please slowly state and spell your name for the record? You may begin now.
Hello, my name is Mary Walker, Marywalker. Now, I want to thank you, Madam Chairman, very much for allowing me to speak today. I represent Carson City, Douglas, Lyon, and Story counties. We are neutral on SB 191 as written. However, we just wanted to put on record we would be very supportive if the bill included counties as part of the revenue distribution. As Vince Guthreau just stated, the counties do provide maintenance of 75% of public roads in Nevada. It's also one of our biggest area of complaint from our citizens, simply because we don't have enough money to go around. I'd like to thank Senator Settlemyre very much for bringing this bill forward and being open to including counties. We will be working with the sponsor on amendment to the bill to include the counties. Thank you very much, and I hope you're all doing well.
All right, if there are any more callers wishing to give testimony in a neutral position for Senate Bill 191, please press star 9 now to enter your place into the queue. Chair Harris, at this time, there are no more callers wishing to testify in a neutral position for the bill.
Okay, we will go ahead and close out testimony then on Senate Bill 191. And I will turn it back over to you, Senator Settlemyre, if you'd like to make any closing remarks.
Thank you, Chair. This is Senator Settlemyre. I appreciate that opportunity. I appreciated the thorough discussion by all your members and the testimony from others. Hopefully, maybe we can work across the parties and try to find something that will help try to look at creating some more stable revenue through EV cars for the highway funds. I just looked at the interim committee that was done that was not conclusive. Intriguing concepts such as mile per gallon equivalencies. As for those individuals that said that this raises the cost too much, I remember looking online just now, seeing that the average charging station is $1.50 an hour for level 2 charge. It takes 7 hours for a full charge. That means the average person right now is paying commercially is $11 to fill their tank to drive on our roads. And an extra $1.10 on top of that, I don't think it'd kill them. Yet it would help at least create some revenue for our highway funds, which are being depleted as we switch more to the EVs, which we know is the wave of the future and is going to continue to get greater every time. And to me, it's time to make a decision of how we're going to at least attempt that. Maybe there's a better solution out there, but this isn't the first time. I remember my predecessor in the assembly, Lynn Hetrick, 20 odd years ago, talking about due to more fuel efficient cars, maybe we need to look at the idea of taxing tires. Of course, that went nowhere because that violates the Interstate Commerce Clause, I found out. But we're all trying to find something. Thank you, Chair, for your time and committee.
All right, thank you, Senator. Before I officially close out the hearing on Senate Bill 191, I'll just note for the record that we have one letter of opposition for this bill on Nellis as well. And with that, we will go ahead and close the hearing. And we'll open it up for public comment. BPS, is there anyone on the line who'd like to give public comment at this time?
Thank you, Chair. Callers, if you'd like to give public comment, please press star 9 now to enter the queue. Once again, if you'd like to give public comment, please press star 9 now. Chair Harris, at this time, it appears no callers are wishing to give public comment.
All right, thank you. We'll go ahead and close that out then. And I'll invite any members if they'd like to make any closing comments before we adjourn. Okay, seeing none, we will have our next meeting on Wednesday, March 17th at 3:30 p.m. sharp. We are adjourned. Have a great afternoon, everybody.